Hey everyone, welcome to a new video, welcome to my channel. My name is Micah. Today we are going to be tackling this particular part of my makeup collection, which would be my highlighters. I saw Lacey doing this from Spooky Lips and Fat Hips a few months ago, and I thought, hey, wouldn't it be fun to take you through my highlighter collection and show you that. I definitely also have a couple of cream highlighters over here, so I think we can tackle those towards the end. And there are two face palettes which are over here that have nothing but highlighters. So I thought I could show you that. Before we get started, there's a couple of things I need to put in. These things are either new or they were in my shop, my stash. This way I just have everything in one place. So let me start you off with my face palette. So this is one of the very few highlighter palettes I have, and this is the other one. So the first one I have here is by Catrice. This is their Luminize Highlight Blush and Blush Glow palette. This is two highlighters and a blush, but on me, this is just not that perfect, but this highlighter I love. So let me swatch that for you. Oh, that's very bright. So that's what that highlighter looks like. I have kept this around in my makeup collection because this is the only Catrice highlighters that I really have. And this is just a really pretty one for my fair skin. So that's why I have that palette in my collection. And then we have the Moonchild by Anastasia. And I don't have any other glow kits save for this one. And this one I keep around to have like a funky inner corner highlight kind of thing. That's what we're going for here. It's got Blue Eyes, Star, Purple Horseshoe, Pink Heart, Lucky Clover, and Blue Moon. I really like these three the most. Blue Eyes is a really nice blue toned highlighter. These are a lot thinner than the Catrice one. But this has that blue shift. And then Pink Heart has that pinky, peachy kind of shift to it. So that's really pretty too. And then Lucky Clover is the green one. And this is why I don't really have many other funky highlighters in my collection, because I feel this palette sees me through it. I don't really use the other three. I do like Purple Horseshoe, but it has too much of a base pigment to it for it to really work on my cheeks. But I tend to use these as inner corner highlights the most. If I really want to go for something differently than a standard beige, then I use this. Alright, so editing here, I remembered suddenly that I had an extra one that I didn't show you yet. So I'm putting this footage in here so you can see the Sungasm Face and Body Highlighter by Catrice. This was a limited edition for their Sungasm collection this year in 2020. It is absolutely massive, so that's why I forgot it, because this I keep with my face palettes, and I was like, oh yeah, I had this other one too. So I'm also not filming this with a tripod, so let me see if I can give this a swatch. So this is what it looks like. So this is that highlighter swatched. As you can see, it is stunning. It's just really, really pretty. It has a really nice glow to it, yet really shiny too on the cheeks. This is perfect for the summertime. So in this little cubby over here, I keep my cream products, and some of it is bronzer, so let me take that out. But everything else in here is pretty much highlight. So one of the newest acquisitions is this Face Studio Chrome Jelly Highlighter in Metallic Rose by Maybelline. I bought this for my full face of Maybelline that I did just recently. And it looks a little dark in the pot, but actually if you put it on, it is not too bad actually. It has a really nice glow to it. A really nice shine, but it does have a bit of a deeper base tone to it. So perhaps not the best for my skin tone, but again, I just really wanted to try a new highlighter by Maybelline that I hadn't tried before yet. And to be quite honest, their powder highlighters I'm not a huge fan of, so I decided to try this. And it's nice, but it's nothing to write home about. Favorites are coming up right now, because one of my favorites is the Glossier Halo Scope in Quartz. I really like this. So this is a stick like this, and this is the palest shade I believe that they do. It has a really, really nice sort of sheen to it, and this is the kind of highlighter that just makes your face look like you've got glass skin. It's so, so pretty. Works really well with my pale complexion, and this looks really natural too. So this is definitely one that I like using year round. In here as well are two minis by Benefit. I have the What's Up highlighter and the High Beam. High Beam, I used one up completely back in the day. This is a very pink toned highlighter. It is very pretty, but I don't really go for this kind of thing anymore. But it does have a really nice sheen to it and not too much of a very strong base, you could say. And then the What's Up was one of my favorite highlighters actually this year. I hadn't used this a lot, but this is a really nice, more champagne-y color. So that's more what I'm going for right now. I really, really like this. I think I wore it quite a lot in like June, July. And then I have a liquid highlighter from both Essence and Catrice. So let me do the Essence one first. This is the Insta-Perfect liquid highlight in the shade Gold Addiction. And this was only, I'm not sure if this is still around, depending on where you're at, that you might be still be able to get this or not. But this was such a pretty highlighter just to, you know, apply with a stipple brush, and then it is a lot lighter than I thought it was going to be, because usually if a highlighter is too golden, I don't really like it very much. But this one was really pretty, and I kept this over some of my other cream highlighter sticks. Look at how that blends in. It's so natural on the skin, really nice. And the Catrice Galactic Highlighter Drops. These are really nice. They have a bit of a duochrome, so let me shake this up so we can actually see these. And it has this little dropper as well, which is quite fancy, but I'm not sure if this still works. Oh yeah, it does. It's a bit thick, but it's okay. And as you can see, this has this like peachy vibe to it. I need to adjust the exposure all the time, I see, because else you can't see the swatch very well. But there you go. And then over here we get the powder highlighters, and that's what I definitely have most of. I definitely have solid favorites in here, and you will see, for instance, I have quite a few Becca highlighters, I've got quite a few Ofra highlighters, and that's because those are just some of my favorites. But that doesn't mean that I don't try other things. So definitely this year, because I was doing like a full face of a certain brand every month, I have been trying other things, which I have been very happy with. So let me just take these things off that are on top. Let me talk about this first. So here we have the KVD Beauty Single Shadow in Thunderstruck. I think these were actually discontinued. I don't think you can still get this, but I got this in a swap, and it has, you can't really see this in this lighting, but it's a really, really pretty highlight. Again, a little bit like those Galactic highlighter drops from Catrice. It has a little bit of that peachiness to it, which I like. Let me see if I can show you. Do you see that it's got like a pinky, peachy sort of flip to it? Also on top and currently in my Shop My Stash is the ColourPop Hades highlighter from their Villains collection. I can no longer find this on the ColourPop website, so I'm not entirely sure if these have been discontinued. This is another like more peachy toned highlighter. It looks really, really pretty. I like applying these ColourPop Super Shock highlighters with my makeup sponge. I find that that works the best. And then if I swatch this for you, I do feel this has more of like a beige shade to it, but I can definitely get away with this if I blend it in well. Another highlighter then in my Shop My Stash is the Zoeva Soft Sun highlighter in Cinnamon Sky. This is definitely like a hourglass sort of dupe kind of situation going on here. They also had like blush shades, but I like this one the best. But I do have to say though that I did in the store pick the one that had the least of this like bronzy brown shade in it. I definitely picked one, like opened a few up to find one that had as much of the champagne shade, because this was more intended like a blush, I think. But this is a fairly like soft, more subtle highlightery kind of shade, and it does have a little bit of sparkle. But this is so lovely for every day. It's really, really pretty. This is a little bit more on the icy side of things, but it does have that champagne-y sort of undertone, so I like that. And also on top, because it's brand new, you will have already seen me film a full face of Catrice, or at least almost full face of Catrice's new products that they just launched, and this is their new More Than Glow highlighter. I have this in the shade Ultimate Platinum Gaze 010, and this is a really lovely highlighter. When I spotted this on the website, let me see if I can turn down the brightness so you can see this a little bit better. So it's got a really nice embossing on the compact. And when I spotted these online, I couldn't find swatches anywhere. This seems to come in 3 shades. The second one being more of like a rosy toned one, and the third one being very gold. But this one looked very yellow toned in all of the pictures I could find. And now that I've swatched it and used it, I can tell you that this has a little bit of a yellow undertone to it, but it's not super obvious. It's more like a white gold, you could say. So it's very pretty if you have fair skin. I used to have one of those 3D glazed highlighters by Catrice, but the only shade that really worked for me was the white one, and that was just a bit too stark. I have one white highlighter, and I think that's more than enough. So those are some of the things that were on top because they were easiest to reach for. So where do we want to start? Let's start here in the back. One of my favorite summertime highlighters is the Dior, let me see, this has a very long name, Dior Skin Nude Air Luminizer in 001. I have a few of these Dior highlighters, but this is the only one that I truly ever really kept using after the first like initial like, ooh, I've got a Dior highlighter kind of phase. This is a little bit dark for me for most of the year, but in the summertime, this is so, so pretty. Let me show you. Do you see that is just, it's a little bit deep for my very pale skin, but it does have a nice sheen. So if I have a little bit of a tan going on, this looks absolutely gorgeous. Also in here is the Annabelle Perfect Glow highlighter in the shade Topaz. And this is one that I got in a swap with someone from Canada, Stashy. She sent me this because I wanted to try some Canadian drugstore stuff. And you can see, I'm not sure if you can see how big the dent is here. I think if I turn down the bright, ooh, I'm hitting my tripod here. But you can see perhaps if I turn down the brightness that it has a really big dip. And that's because I just love this thing. This is a great, true white gold highlighter that looks so, so great on my complexion. It's just that I used to have 3 white gold highlighters, and I decided to keep this one over, for instance, Narcissus Albatross. And what else did I have? I also had one by LA Girl. They're strobe light highlighters. I think it was in 110 watt. I decided to keep this over the other 2. I've got 2 MAC highlighters, and there's a bit of a story behind it. By the time that I decided I wanted to buy myself one of these extra dimension highlighters, I had so many of the standard shades, I felt, that I didn't really want to go for something too everyday and normal. So my first pick was actually this one, and this is called Show Gold. And this is not necessarily recommended for very fair skin like mine, but I just thought this shade was really pretty. It has like a gold to pink kind of flash, and I just fell in love with the shade. The texture of these is really, really lovely. I love these little MAC highlighters. I don't use them enough, but this, again, in the summertime with a bit of a tan, this is so, so pretty. I may need to put it in my next Shop My Stash because October is like probably the last month I can get away with this and I still have a bit of color to my skin. By the time November rolls around, I'll be pasty pale again, so I definitely need to use that soon. And because I like that one so much, I got myself another one, and this is Double Gleam. And this is the one that MAC recommends for fair skin people. This is definitely more of like a standard champagne shade, but there's just something about this. Like, it's got a little bit more whiteness to it, but it's not too stark white. Like, it's not too icy. It has a really, really pretty glow to it, and I was just blown away when I started using this. Like, I put it on my face for like review pictures, and I was like, oh wow, that is lovely. An OG favorite, the Balms Mary Luminizer. This is one that I've seen so many people declutter, and it hurts my heart because I've hit pan on this one, you guys. It happened this year. This is one of the oldest highlighters I own, so it's about time. But yeah, this is a lovely thing. Of course, I've got plenty of product left in this because I've definitely only been digging around in the middle there. But this is, if I want to go for a gold highlight, like I've got several other ones, but this one in the summertime, oh my word. It's still so smooth, so creamy. I love this. Turn down the brightness again a little bit so you can see a little bit better how it all looks together. And then really quickly, this pinky packaging you may already recognize, but I did get myself a Jeffree Star highlighter, I think last year, and I got hypothermia because I wanted to try the formula because so many people love it, and this shade looked really interesting and unique and not something I've seen a lot of brands do, so that's why I wanted to try it. I bought this actually after I saw Beauty News do a makeup breakup with this, and they also said for fair-skinned people, this may be very nice, and that sort of swayed me to bite the bullet on this one, because I had spotted it in store, really liked the look of it, but I was like, oh, is this truly wearable? I'm not too sure. So what this is, ooh, there we go. It has this like strong pink base, and then it turns blue. Purpley bluish violet almost, which is why if you have a cooler undertone, this works really well. And this is a highlighter that works really well with purple blush, I think. However, it does, as you can see, it does have a very strong base pigment to it. So in certain lighting, you can definitely see it sort of sitting on the skin, which I'm not a huge fan of. I prefer a highlighter that's like much better, or much easier to blend in. Things are falling over. Next up is the Essence Bloom Baby Bloom Baked Highlighter in the shade Rose and Shine. This is one that I bought because I wanted to review this limited edition collection that Essence came out with this spring. And this is sadly a little bit dark, and it's also very weirdly sparkly. This was not my favorite. I will definitely end up decluttering this at some point. And like some of the other ones, like it just has, you know, it's got a pretty shine to it. It's just, this is not something I would reach for very quickly. And it actually looks a lot brighter on the screen than it does in real life. Like in real life, the reflect just doesn't show up that strong. It's definitely something that has like darkness and then more darkness to it, you could say. The one that was falling over is the Fenty Beauty Kilowatt Highlighter in Lightning Dust and Fire Crystal. And you can see I've used this one, especially the, what's this side called? The Fire Crystal side. I've used a lot. So the idea behind these, I believe, is that you get a more subtle one and a more like intense highlighter one. And I like both of these, but I'm not sure. It's just not my favorite texture for some reason. Like the shade is quite nice, but it's just, I don't know. It was just not something I was truly wowed with. Like, it's a good highlighter. I could definitely hit pan on that right side. I mean, I've made good progress on that, I think, but this is not my favorite all-time formula, which is why I'm not currently looking into, like, buying any more of these. I also have a Laura Geller highlighter in here, and this is her Baked Highlighter Duo in French Vanilla and Portofino. Bought this a while ago when this was still for sale at Ulta. I think now you can only get it from her official website. And this has also been popping up, or at least the brand has been popping up at TK Maxx. Oh, speaking of TK Maxx and Laura Geller, I've got one more thing I need to show you in a minute. Almost forgot here. But this is French Vanilla, and that is Portofino. Now, this Portofino shade looked really dark in the pan to me, but it has a beautiful, beautiful flash to it. French Vanilla is a bit of a strange one because it's a matte highlighter. So that would be French Vanilla. Let me turn down the brightness. So here we have French Vanilla, and that is more like a, well, finishing powder almost. I really like this on my under eyes actually. So if you have pretty dry under eyes and you do want a powder, I like this product a lot in the wintertime just to add a bit of brightness there. And this would be Portofino. And if you look at how dark that looks in the pan and you compare to how it swatches, do you see how much brighter that actually is? Like it's more like a white gold almost. It's stunning, absolutely stunning. I love it. I lied to you when I said that I only had 2 highlighter palettes. I mentioned TK Maxx and Laura Geller, and I was like, oh wait, at the start of lockdown, like I think 2 days before we went into lockdown, I bought myself this from TK Maxx. So this is the Life Glows On High Definition Glow Illuminator palette. And this has our Baked Gelato Swirl formula. And that's a formula I've been itching to try, but the shade that everybody is raving about, which is, what's it called again? That golden tone. I'm not sure what it's called anymore, but it's, you know, it was everyone's favorite for a while, but it was just much too deep for me. And they didn't really do a shade in their singles that I really liked. And then I spotted this at TK Maxx for like €7. Oh, the sticker is gone. And especially this Moon Dust shade. Well, I'll swatch all 3 of them for you. I don't really like the very yellow toned one, but this pinky one, Opal Haze, and also Moon Dust, those are right up my street. So let me swatch those here. Wrist is not ideal, but I just really wanted to try this formula, and I thought, oh, what the heck, for like €7, it's worth a try. So that would be Moon Dust, and that would be Opal Haze, which is this very purpley shade. For my full face of Makeup Revolution, I bought the Revolution, what's this called? Highlighter Reloaded in Dare to Divulge. This is also a really pretty one, but I'm just not a huge fan of these like baked products. So this is this feels pretty dry and pretty stiff, but it is very impactful, I have to say. Like, this is one of those like very blinding highlighters. Again, a little bit more, well, it has a bit of a peach in real life, but on the camera it looks quite icy. This is just one of those things where I'm like, yeah, I kind of like it, but for instance, I think I can get something very similar out of my MAC Double Gleam, so I would prefer using that over this. And then one that I kept in my last declutter because I just like, I can't get rid of this. This is the Love Light Highlighter by Too Faced in Ray of Light. Perhaps my first like peachy toned highlighter. Look at that. Like, if I make it a bit brighter, you can see that it has this like pinky flash to it. Love it. And this, not everybody liked these at the time, but I really like this. There were 3 shades, I think. I decided to go with this and not the very pale one because I felt that this would work just as well. It does have a bit of a base pigment to it, but as you can see, when I turn my hand, it doesn't really lay on the skin. So even though this is a little bit darker and therefore better for me in like the spring summer season, this is not necessarily one that, you know, I wear all year round, but it's a good peachy toned highlighter. The first one by Ofra I'd like to show you is this mini in Blissful. I decided to buy a mini because Ofra highlighters are just so incredibly big and therefore difficult to use up that I was like, you know, this kind of rose gold kind of shade that again is more like a spring summer thing for me isn't necessarily something that I will use year round. So I was like, let's just go with a mini. And I do really like this mini packaging. I think that this is plenty of product. How much product do you get in here? Doesn't say. Oh, it does. 4 grams, which, you know, for a highlighter, you don't need that much product. So I was okay with that. And Ofra is, of course, known for being the most blinding highlight on the planet. So stunning. And while this is quite a dark shade, like the Portofino one, I feel that this looks darker in the pan than it does when you swatch it. However, this one does, as you can see, have a very deep, or like a deeper base shade to it, meaning that this can show up on your cheeks when you wear it if the light doesn't hit it, but I feel that if you just move around, it doesn't really show up that well. But look at that shine. So stunning. So we've done this entire back row right now, so let's keep going here in the front and start here, move our way this way, and then we'll do this bit over here. So here in the back, I've got one of my favorite all-time highlighters, and this is the NARS highlighter in Fort de France. And I remember when NARS came out with these new highlighters, I was like, yup, I want this so badly. And Fort de France is one of my other gold highlighters that I love. I'm not a huge fan of gold highlighter, but this one I just think is stunning. And actually, they're right next to each other, so I'll just mention this one straight away. This is the Anastasia Emrazy highlighter. Very difficult to get. I was able to pick this up right before it was discontinued. This was, of course, very much raved about, and I feel that these two are very similar. So let me swatch them side by side. The Embrace one is perhaps a little bit more blinding, but I feel that you can build up the NARS one in order to be that, like that intense if you'd like to. If you layer this one, you get the same result as you do with this, and the shade, as you can see here, is pretty much identical. It just is. Let me see if I can build up that NARS one for you so that you can truly compare. So shade-wise, they are not that far off, so I would say if you missed out on the Embrace highlighter and you're still lusting after it after all these years, buy Narcissus Fort de France, because it's essentially the same thing, and that one isn't limited edition. So those are two of my favorite like golden toned highlighters. I just can't pick between these two. The Balm's Merry Luminizer is definitely the favorite, but these two are really, really stunning too. Really lovely textures. Just incredible. Moving on then to my other two Ofra highlighters. I mentioned I love Ofra, so it makes sense that I've got a few of these. So this would be Pillow Talk, and this is the one that I've used the least. And why did I use this the least? Is because I bought this right around the time where I stopped loving these like pink toned highlighters. So I decluttered a lot of my pink toned highlighters over the years. This is one of the very few ones I still have, because if I then want to go for a pink toned highlighter, I want to go for something like this. This is very icy, like almost white leaning pink. Like it's like white with a hint of pink kind of idea. And that's really pretty on me in the winter time. Like if I'm super pale, like January, February time, and I just want to look like an ice queen, then this is absolutely lovely. It's just not my favorite for like year round. I like there to be a little bit more depth to it in like things that I like to use year round. I also have Rodeo Drive. Who didn't own this at some point in time? As you can see, I've used this quite a bit, and this is another like more golden toned highlighter, but this, like some of the other ones I've shown you, I think it's not as dark and golden as it looks in the pan. This is definitely one that if you use a light hand, it doesn't have that strong of a base shade to it. And look at that shine. It's just not as golden. This just has a certain brightness to it that I find a lot of golds don't have, which is why this was sort of the golden toned highlighter that I felt was just right for my skin tone when I first got it, and I still feel that way. This is the Nabla Skin Glazing Highlighter in the shade Privilege, and this is another peachy tone one because I'm all about the peachy tones at the moment. I just like there to be a little bit more color to it, as I mentioned, and this is definitely one that I just fell in love with. Look at, can you see how much I've used it? And especially these gel to powder highlighters, they show wear a lot more quickly than some other highlighters do, I find. But this, oh, when I bought this, like it was all I could wear. So, so pretty. And do you see that even though it's a peachy tone and it's quite like a deep tone, no matter how I turn my hand, it's going, like it doesn't really lay on the skin. It has just the right undertone in its base. It has that really nice sheen to it, and then that peachiness. I find this works so well in combination with blushes. You could definitely even use this as a blush topper if you'd like. I don't really do blush topper, but if that's your jam, you can. In a very similar vein, I have the Pixie by Petra Glowy Gossamer Duo in Subtle Sunrise. I bought this off of ASOS. This was a very difficult product for me to find, but I really like this left side. I like the peachy tone too, but this peach tone is a little bit too dark for what I want. So let me swatch the peach next to the Nabla. There we go. So you can see that the Nabla one is perhaps a little bit more subtle, a little bit more everyday. This is much more metallic and wet looking. It's still very pretty, but I do find that the Pixie one is just a little bit too dark. Can you see that this does have that quality where you can see it sitting on the skin, whereas this one barely does that on me. So this lighter shade I go for a lot more in this Pixie highlighter than the peachy one. But the peachy one I can wear. It's just that I now prefer my Nabla one for sure. Another very new acquisition that I haven't tried a lot yet is this Melt highlighter. This is their Morning Star highlighter, and this is from their Digital Dust collection, which I think they're like releasing more things in. And this is actually one that I purchased because Lacey showed it in her video, and she was like, this is very similar to this one by Makeup Geek that I have been wanting to buy, but then the brand was taking off of Beauty Bay and I could no longer buy it. So that's why I went with this one, and this is so lovely if you have pale skin. Very much, again, that sort of glass-like finish like NARS Fort de France, and which is another one, and something like the Halo Scope by Glossier. This is a powder, but on the skin it hardly looks like powder. It's that sort of crazy, not super intense, like it's got a good glow, but it's not super metallic. It's just much more natural for every day, and I think this shade just represents exactly what I love in a highlighter. It has that like golden tone and like a champagne, but it's got something deeper, more peachy running through it, and it does have a good shine. It doesn't have that nasty quality where you can see it laying on the skin. So stunning. This is everything. This is highlighter goals for me for sure. And then what we have left in here is my little Becca family and my Hourglass Strobe Light highlighter. So let me talk to you about this one first. Hello camera, and hello me. This is the Iridescent Strobe Light Ambient Strobe Lighting Powder. What's in a name? Not a lot of people liked these Hourglass highlighters when they were released. However, it really depends on which shade you get, how much glitter you get in them. But these are very subtle highlighters. Like this is, especially when we get to these smaller highlighters, that's like subtle highlight central for me. It almost has like a matte base to it. Do you see, especially compared to that melt highlighter, do you see how subtle this is? But, you know, if you just want something quick and easy for work, something very suitable for every day, or if you just don't like very beaming highlights, then this Hourglass powder, absolutely stunning. And this has a bit of that pinky undertone, but look at just how nicely that just, it shines a bit, but nothing too brightening. I love it. And then we get Becca. I definitely invested in some Becca highlighters back when I first tried the brand. However, when they first like really became a hype with like Champagne Pop, I found a lot of the shades weren't very pale girl friendly. So the only one I could really get away with was Moonstone, but I have a cool to neutral undertone, so it was a bit too yellow tone for me. So I was very happy when they did Pearl, and Pearl is their white highlighter. And this is also the only white highlighter that I currently own, because I like, once you have a white highlighter, you really don't need any more, I think. And I still really like my Becca highlighters. Like, look at that. If I want to go for something super icy, this and Pillow Talk, that's all I need. But my favorite highlighter is, for sure, Prismatic Amethyst. I'm not because of the texture in the pan, I feel you can't really see how, because of the texture in the pan, I feel you can't really see how much I've used it, but right here in the middle, I'm not sure. But I went to town on this one, and I did a video where I found dupes for this because I wanted to be able to give people like more affordable recommendations. Newsflash, our No Colourpop's Hippo Super Shock highlighter is very similar to this. So if you want to do this on a budget, you can. But Prismatic Amethyst is like, it's like an icy lavender, pinky, purpley, but not true purple. So again, in the winter time with a cool tone blush. This with purple blush is a cheek of my dreams when it's super duper cold outside. I just love that kind of look. If you're very fair skinned, Prismatic Amethyst is perhaps one of their best ones if you don't want to go for like a straight up beigey golden tone. A little bit later, I think this is actually the last one that I got Rose Quartz, and this is like my other sort of like pink toned highlighter that I truly care about, because this is also, it's not super pink. Like for a pink toned highlighter, it's not super pink. It has a little bit more of that peachiness to it, but it's also quite bright, so I love that about it. And then last but not least, my other favorite is Vanilla Quartz. Again, I'm not sure if you can see that, but I definitely went to town there in the middle. And this is a yellow toned, well, very soft gold, you could say. It's like, it's not as yellow as Moonstone. I found that Moonstone was a lot more yellow toned than this is. because this has a little bit of that iciness to it, a little bit of that whiteness, but it does have a bit of a deeper base. But yeah, that's what those all look like. And over here, this little section here is like my smaller highlighters, and there are some solid favorites in here too. Let me just take this one out. Urban Decay Afterglow highlighter in Aura. Everybody was going crazy for Sin, but Sin was too dark for me. And again, talking about a highlighter that's seen quite a bit of use, this definitely has a bit of a dip in it. And yeah, this is similar to Prismatic Amethyst by Becca, but it's perhaps a little bit more pink. So where that it just has a slightly different quality to it. So again, this is one of my favorite wintertime highlighters. It just, for my very pale, cool to neutral undertone skin, this just works wonders. It's not too blinding, making it great for every day. It's not boring. It does have a bit of a flip, so it makes it a little bit more interesting. I really like this. My other favorite, like, subtle highlighter is this one by Kiko, which I believe they discontinued, but it's shade 01 in their Glow Fusion highlighter line, and this came with a little embossing in the middle. It's got a dip. I've dug my nail in. Like, this is just completely beat up, but this is so stunning. This is, again, not too intense. Like, it's got glow, but it has almost like that matte quality to its base. It's so stunning. It has a little bit of a golden undertone too. So again, not too icy. It's got a little bit of warmth. Pairs really well with lots of other blushes. This is like, if I had to recommend one highlighter that goes with everything and every occasion, that might be right for a ton of different people that range into like the lighter skin tone spectrum, this shade by Kiko for sure, if you can still get it. One of my favorite, most affordable highlighters is by Essence. This is the highlighter in the shade 10 Heroic. Again, really pretty. This is a cream to powder highlight for less than €3. I don't know how they do it. The packaging is a bit cheaply made, but I mean, this highlighter retails for less than €5 and they do this. I mean, how? How, Essence? How can you be this amazing and be so affordable? This is one of my favorite highlighters to travel with because this packaging is so nicely compact, and this shade as well, it's quite neutral, so it goes with a lot of different blushes and bronzers and different looks. Like, this is again one of those highlighters you can just whack on and it will look good anyways, and it's a little bit more intense than something like the Kiko or the Urban Decay. So this one I just love. This, I'm not sure how many shades this comes in, but I believe there was only like 1 or 2. So if you have a much deeper skin tone than I do, not sure if it's right for you then, because as you can see, this is very icy leaning. But hello, can we just appreciate this for a moment? Another Annabelle highlighter. This is the Holo Lighter in the shade Pegasus. And this is again a peachy toned highlighter that has a sort of pinky duochrome flip to it. This I really like as well, and this was also sent to me in that swap with the other one that I already showed you at the start of the powder highlighters. Do you see how it has a really nice flash to it, but then it does have that pinky base? It's really special, very different from all the other pinky peachy toned highlighters that I have. I think this is like number 10, but I feel they're all different. It's just my favorite sort of shade. And then we have the Physicians Formula Butter Highlighter. This is in the shade Pearl, and this I thought I wasn't going to like. I thought I wanted the shade called Iridescent a lot more, but then I was again in the same swap as that Annabelle highlighter. Stashy sent me this one, and I tried the iridescent shade later, but I ended up not liking it as much. And this one as well, for a shade called Pearl, and this is of course more like creamy, very more like a subtle highlight, but very pretty on the face, very reminiscent of like the ColourPop Super Shocks. Speaking of which, I just got myself a new ColourPop Super Shock in this standard packaging. This is Flexitarian. It's one that I've been wanting to try. I decluttered Hippo because I already own the Becca one that, because I already own the Becca one that I just love a lot more, but Flexitarian is such a classic. I was like, I want another ColourPop Super Shock in my life. So I got this one. Again, a little bit more icy. It's a bit of a champagne-y beige shade, but again, for pale skin, like, just like, what was this again? I forgot what this was. Oh, the Essence one. So it's very similar actually to the Essence one. Do you see that? Tone-wise. So if, for instance, if ColourPop is a bit difficult for you to get, then, but you can get Essence, these are pretty much identical. And now we've got 2 more left, and that is my 2 Benefits ones. And again, this is a more subtle and a more intense one. So let me start with Dandelion Twinkle. I love the Dandelion blush shade. That's one of my favorite all-time blushes. And this is just, again, it's a peachy undertone, but this is like that Hourglass one. It's sort of like, it's glow, but it's not super intense. But this is, again, not boring. It's got a little bit of a depth to it, which I appreciate, but it does have that nice shine, and on my skin tone, this just works lovely. However, when they released their cookie highlighter, can you tell? Can you tell I love this with like the wear on this thing is amazing. So I do really like this one too. And this is a lot more blinding. And I feel that the shades of these are exactly the same. This one's just a bit more intense and this is a bit more subtle, which is why I like both, so that if I want to go for something super intense, I can do that. And if I want to go for something a little bit less intense, I've got that similar vibe. Right, so there we have it. Those are all of my highlighters in my makeup collection right now. And yeah, I've got these in my Shop My Stash, so I need to put those back, but this is currently what we're working with. I'm very happy with where everything stands. Now that I've swatched everything, I think there are a few more things, so I'm like, in a future declutter, those may no longer be part of this makeup collection, but I don't really feel like decluttering my makeup collection anytime soon, because I'm currently really loving where all of these highlighters at least stand. So thank you very much for watching this video. Please give this video a thumbs up if you liked it. Subscribe to my channel if you'd like to see more by me. I make 3 new videos a week, so hope to see my next video. Bye-bye!